Okay guys, so welcome to the Isometric exercise library for the Superhuman Strength Protocol. Today we're going to be going through the isometric floor press. Now this is one of my favourite alternatives to the horizontal pushing dynamic movements that we tend to have, such as the bench press. Because it is an example of one of the open kinetic chain versions of a horizontal push, so the body stays in a fixed position and the resistance is the thing that is being moved, we want to make sure that we get that base of support underneath our scapula so we can replicate the position that we would be within a bench press. Within this, we want to make sure that we squeeze our shoulder blades together and set that strong base for the scapula. So make sure that our chest is nice and tall. We're not necessarily looking for flares within the rib cage, but we want to make sure that the chest is higher than the shoulder position. Remember, a lot of people that have that kind of thoracic kyphosis, or that rounding of the shoulders, we tend to see that their chest is a lot shallower than the shoulder position, so just make sure that we're prioritizing that little bit of an arch through the thoracic spine. As you can see here, I have the strap looped around my torso just to give me the range of motion that I need so that it is in a shortened position. What we want to aim for here is similar to the floor press position within a dynamic setting in which our elbows are touching the floor. We want to be in roughly that position when we drive up into the strap. Again, you can use the loops on the forklift lifting strap as a gauge for the range of motion, but all I'm doing here is making sure that I'm setting that strong base of support. I like to have my feet flat on the ground when I do a floor press, but some people prefer it with the legs out straight. What you're going to do here is, again, make sure that the chest is nice and tall, make sure that our hands are in equal positions either side, okay, so that they are in line with one another and that they have a similar angle at the shoulder, so we're not over flaring one and we're not over tucking the other. Making sure that our wrists stay stacked on top of our elbows, just so we can get that maximal activation of the pressing muscles, such as the front delt and the shoulder, such as the front delt and the pec, and make sure that we're recruiting those triceps. One thing I will say with any of these types of pressing motions, we tend to see that people that are new to isometric training or that don't necessarily have a sufficient amount of coordination within a horizontal pushing movement, we tend to see that as the individual presses, their hands come towards one another in the center, just to try and take that pressure off the shoulder, because obviously then it's dissipated. So you just want to make sure that the wrist stays stacked over the elbow and that we are keeping pressing in that position that you would be within a bench press. Again, with all of these isometric exercises, guys, you want to try and replicate the dynamic motion against that fixed resistance. So anytime you're doing functional isometric, you want to push as if you are locking that bar out, okay, with the allotted amount of intensity on the Superhuman Strength Protocol. You want to try and perform that dynamic motion against that fixed resistance. So always thinking about that positive transfer that you're going to get